Superhumandance has a debate coming up with Richard from the Vegan Gains channel, so that might be a good opportunity to expose some vegans to antinatalist philosophy. Superhumandance was asking for some help in preparing, so I thought I'd make a video just with some tips and advice. Like Richard, I'm a vegan weightlifter, so I've watched most of his content over the years and pretty familiar with his positions on things. Obviously I don't get into live debates on this channel. It's not that I'm against it, I'd do one if a good opportunity came up, but I really don't want to waste your time, and debates usually end up being just that. It's usually more efficient in my mind to make videos where I can respond point by point to someone else's claims. But Richard makes money on live debates by getting what are called super chats, where a viewer can pay money in his chat room to get a comment read live. My channel is non-profit, so I'm not into that personally. I do want to give a shout out to Danny Bork, who made a significant donation to Vegan Gains, which brought his attention to this subject. And also thanks to Superhumandance for putting himself out there, because like he said, he doesn't make any money off of YouTube like Vegan Gains does, so this is purely an activist project to him as it is to me. Honestly, Vegan Gains doesn't really get that philosophical on his channel. I really think of it as being more about diet and training advice. And we use totally different protocols when it comes to weight training. And I think that his training advice is misguided, but so is 99% of the stuff on YouTube. I didn't really know what to use for visuals for this video, so I'll just be showing myself making some vegan gains. This was some stuff I shot this weekend for my fitness channel. I was going to wait until I had more content before announcing it, but I have started a new channel dedicated to high-intensity training. Someone in the comments of a video I made a while ago made a good suggestion that I should start non-philosophy channels about my other interests, and then sneak in a little antinatalism and vegan ethics in there. I think that's a really great idea, and I've already met one other vegan high-intensity weightlifter, and also gotten my first hate video from a meat-eating high-intensity YouTuber who apparently is not very fond of veganism. I will put a link in the description below. I only have 3 videos done so far, and one of them is just a recycled version of the fitness video I did for this channel, which actually started out as a response to Superhumandance, incidentally. But that is one reason why I haven't been making as much content here. The video I'm putting together now is on the topic of pre-exhaustion. If you don't lift weights, then you'd really have no interest or reason to watch a video like that, so it's probably best to put that stuff on another channel that's strictly about exercise. But if you are into working out, I'll be making videos not just about weight training, but about weight loss tips and related subjects, so I hope you'll subscribe and check it out. So my main worry for Superhumandance is that, like his debate with a guy named Dr. Avi, who has since deleted all of his content, but you can see his debate on Superhumandance's channel, is that Vegan Gains is an anti-realist like this Avi guy, or ethical subjectivist, whatever the fuck you want to call it, basically a nihilist. And this guy kept getting hung up on semantics and definitions. So we'll see, but I can pretty much guarantee that meta-ethics is going to come up, and probably come up early. Most likely Vegan Gains is going to watch the Avi debate in preparation. I'd recommend that Superhumandance watch Vegan Gains debates with a guy named Perspective Philosophy, because that is where a lot of his philosophical errors come out. The main one being that he doesn't believe in objective truth value. Even though every animal on Earth thinks that getting burned to death is bad, he'll still not accept that as an objective fact. Evolution is objectively true, and that fact is where ethics comes from. You can't be subjective about ethics. And yet, with some of these vegans on YouTube, like Isaac Brown, also known as Ask Yourself, this is just going to be a constant problem. But I do think that Vegan Gains is better at articulating his points and presenting them simply, better than Ask Yourself or Perspective Philosophy. The problem seems to be that he hasn't read his Benatar and articulated some sort of response to that argument. Watching any of Benatar's videos would help him prepare for this debate. I would constantly hammer this point to him, that he is the one on trial here if this debate happens. He is the one trying to justify the continued existence of sentient life, if I understand his position correctly at least. So I don't think Superhumandance should play defensive here. It's Richard who has to prove why it's okay to allow sentient suffering and death to continue for millions and millions of years into the future. I don't really get how Richard can even be an ethical vegan while being an anti-realist. Also, like Ask Yourself, I don't think he even adheres to utilitarianism or deontology, but rather some weird mashup of the two. So he has more of an emotional, compassionate reason for being a vegan, rather than logical. He realizes that factory farming is unnecessary torture and murder, so all you have to do is remind him that procreation is also the cause of unnecessary torture and murder. Vegan Gains went vegan for health reasons. His channel is primarily about plant-based nutrition, and there does seem to be a legitimate difference between those two types of vegans. The ones who live this way because of their ethical beliefs, and those who came to it as a diet. Some, like Freely, end up becoming a part of the animal liberation movement and make that a part of their channel, and some don't, like VegSource or Nutrition Facts. Vegan Gains and Ask Yourself do address the suffering of the animals on their channels. However, they don't seem to have a clear and consistent understanding of the ethics behind it. They think that negative utilitarianism and Kantianism are somehow compatible. One thing I might bring up is that I saw on his live stream some nice person sent him a copy of Better Never to Have Been, the magnum opus of David Benatar. That is what Richard needs to read before engaging in a debate with Superhumandance. Because, like veganism, antinatalism can be approached or understood from different normative ethical systems, and Benatar covers all of them in that book. For example, bringing someone into existence against their will can be viewed as an act of aggression or force, something that Kantians like Stefan Molyneux are supposedly against. If you live by a rule that says you should stop unnecessary harm to others, then that logically has to apply to animals and unborn people, because they qualify as others. No doubt this idea that Sam Harris and some other utilitarians believe in, called well-being, will come up. Apparently this state can be calculated by taking pleasure minus pain equals well-being. As we know, this conclusion comes from a false premise and is therefore illogical. There exists no pleasure that does not relieve a pain or discomfort that was there in the first place. This is a huge point that Vegan Gains has to understand, and the relief that we feel never even lasts. It's fleeting and momentary, whereas pain and suffering is always there and is always the more powerful and stronger motivator. So its value far outweighs pleasure and the misguided concept of well-being. Superhumandance mentioned that he is going to concentrate on negative utilitarian logic. What I would fear is that Vegan Gains will somehow try to dodge the existence of objective value. That's how nihilists argue against antinatalism. Richard has some other crazy beliefs that hopefully will come up. For example, he said in a debate that he thinks, quote-unquote, morality is based on intuitive or instinctive empathy. So this will probably be another way to attack him. He suffers from a nature worship delusion. Phase 1 of this fallacy of thinking about morality, which is not a good word, ethics is what it is actually called, is natural. The second is that nature is somehow good or acceptable. Ethics is a science, like physics. Animals can't do physics or ethics. All animals are selfish takers. You have to be taught how to be good, how to be civilized. It's not instinctive because it doesn't benefit the replication of our genes. Aggression in nature is rewarded, not kindness and charity. That's why there are harsh sentences, like life in prison without parole, given to criminals, because if there weren't punishments, people would not behave themselves. On the second point, it's clear that people like Ask Yourself, Vegan Gains, VegSource, Corey McCarthy, etc. just don't have very high standards. They're willing to eat a sandwich that has a little bit of shit in it. They think it's okay to eat a nice vegan taco while the guy in the booth next to them is choking to death. Sorry, but a diamond in an ocean of blood does not qualify as something we should preserve. This is a nightmare train to Fucksville we're all riding on, and it's time to talk about stepping off, not stepping on the gas. Another point I would mention is that a vegan should not be creating more meat eaters, because that would invalidate or contradict their animal rights activism. I don't think there have been any actual studies about how many children of vegetarians or vegans become carnists, but even if there's a 1% chance that your child will partake in the animal holocaust, then you would be obligated not to bring that child into existence. I don't see what counter he could have to that argument. Having kids is worse than eating meat and dairy and eggs. It's purposefully creating a feeling animal so that it can be tortured to death. And if that child goes carnist, then they'll be taking thousands of animals with them. Then they'll have kids who will be carnists and take thousands more animals down with them, and over and over and on and on. So apparently this debate will be happening sometime Tuesday, March 26th. No time is given yet. I hope that some antinatalists will hang out in the chat room to answer any questions people might have about antinatalism. Clearly, it's a position that is not very well understood by normal people, even vegans and child-free people. Sam Harris was very clearly confused about the subject, as if he had never even read Benatar, which should be required reading for anyone who is seriously into the ethics of procreation. Alright, thanks for watching. Thanks Superhumandance, thanks Danny Bork. See you soon. Bye.